I'm giving up hope, guys. I feel like
I'm almost
it's
there.
it's just never gonna happen, and
Yeah.
and
Oh, yeah.
it's driving me nuts, man. Because this is Freddy freaking Krueger. This is like the character that everybody freaking loves. They want him back so bad, But maybe because Robert Englund can't really play him. We'll get into all the reasons. Let me read through this real quick.
Yeah.
Just like Friday the 13th and Nightmare on Elm Street is a horror franchise that has been lost in development hell for quite some time. There have been some efforts to reboot the adventures of Freddy Krueger, but New Line Cinema, the production studio in charge of the IP, hasn't moved forward with a new revival, mainly due to complex rights issues. However, according to a New Line boss, there's still hope to reboot the franchise. Just don't expect this to happen anytime soon. New Line Cinema president Richard Brenner hopes that we will see Freddy back on screens, but also admitted how complicated it is. Per the Hollywood Reporter, the New Line boss answered a few questions during CinemaCon about the horror IPs currently hosted by the studio. When asked about A Nightmare on Elm Street, he sounded optimistic, but he didn't have any good news about the project. And then they're going back. Yeah, and they just kind of give you a history. So all you're getting there is they're just a little bit. So maybe you guys know better than I do. And I know it's a legal issue, but like Nick, do you know, is there any specifics? Like, is it like the Craven estate? Are they holding on to it or something like that?
So the Craven estate, his kids, they own the North American distribution rights. The international rights are owned by another entity. I don't know if it's New Line or if it's somebody else. So anytime they got to come together to agree on a new property, like a new piece out of this IP, all parties have to come to the table and agree, because obviously if a movie comes out, it's going to get, distribution internationally as well. So that's an issue. But I think the largest issue is the belief is that the Craven estate has shown no interest whatsoever in bringing Freddy back. His kids, obviously this probably isn't their bread and butter. You inherit what you inherit. And I just don't think that they have a passion or really a give a shit for Freddy to come back, which sucks, because if that's the case, sell the rights. You'll make a shitload of money and go do your thing. So I can tell you that a couple years ago, the Craven estate was taking pitches. That was news a couple years ago, that they were like, hey, we're accepting pitches. That was back when Mike Flanagan had tweeted about it and said that he wanted to do it. Well, then they stopped. I think they were just like, nah, you know what? No. And so as it currently sits, there is nothing percolating. Like there's absolutely nothing happening right now. There's no discussions. There's no pitches. There's nothing. It's literally just dead and sitting there. And I think the only way something is going to happen is if somebody puts their feet to the fire at the Craven estate, or if somebody comes up with an offer they just simply can't refuse and they just sell off. Because I just don't think they have any interest personally. But it's weird because I understand a lot of people feel the way they do about the remake, although, I know you love it like I do, Lee. Yeah. But it made a shitload of money. So it showed that the property was still viable. So I don't know why this is happening, but yeah. That's basically.
Is this that 35-year clause where after 35 years, the name like Freddy Krueger goes back because he's in the first movie? Because they did this with Rocky. I think after 35 years, Rocky, the character, went back, I think, to I think it was United Artists or something like that. And Stallone lost all ownership of anything to do. And it's Friday the 13th went through the same thing with Victor Miller after 35 years. I think Victor Miller owned the rights to the very first to Friday the 13th, the title. He didn't own Jason Voorhees because Jason Voorhees, the adult version anyway, wasn't in the first movie. So I'm wondering if this is one of those things where, because remember back when Freddy Krueger was doing his thing and movies were coming out constantly, Wes Craven had nothing to do really with everything after the first movie. And then he came back and did New Nightmare, of course. But I don't know if I don't think it was a blessing type thing. I think it was just New Line owned Freddy for that run. But I think after 35 years, I think the rights went back to the original owners of the first movie, which was Wes Craven. So in turn goes to his son. And which is weird too, because he worked with his son on one of the second. I always forget the freaking Hills Have Eyes, the remake of the Hills Have Eyes Part 2, which isn't really a remake. It's a completely different story, but
No, not very good.
Wes Craven worked with his son on that movie, so you would think his son would be like, "Yeah, let's get some more Freddy Krueger out there." I don't know.
You know, your guess is as good as mine. I don't know his son's intent. I also don't know if it's more so lawyers or if it's actually his son. But I can tell you that the vibe that I get that permeates this whole situation is just a lack of wanting to. Because here's the difference, guys. You guys know this. We've lived through the Friday the 13th saga for the last 15 years. And every few months throughout these 15 years, there's been some kind of update. And no matter how little, there was a court battle. There was always some kind of update. With Nightmare, dude, it's radio silence. If people actually were trying, we'd know more. We just don't know anything because nothing is happening. And that really fucking sucks. Like, yeah, I'd take Freddy back before Jason 100 times.
Oh yeah, me too.
Like,
me too.
Yeah.
Melissa Crouch or Couch, sorry, Crouch. Robert Englund will always be Freddy to me. The remake with the other guy didn't really do it for me, but I'd be curious to see what they could do moving forward. And this is where I asked Davey, how do you cast Freddy freaking Krueger? Is that possible? What
I think it is possible. I think the key to casting a good Freddy Krueger is to find an actor that's, you know, in their mid to late 30s that people don't know. That's somebody that's been like a relative unknown. I did a video maybe almost about a year and a half ago. There's this guy, Jared Bankins. He was one of the like right hand men in the Twisted Metal TV show. Right. He's in the first like 3 or 4 episodes. He plays a character in that show where he just takes this like sick sadistic pleasure from tormenting a couple of the main characters early on in that season. And something just clicked when I saw him. He has like the physical attributes and everything like that too. You know, he's a tall, like gangly guy. So I think that there's something about having somebody that can pull off a little bit of an uncanny valley sort of look. There you go, like Nick.
Let me be the next Freddy.
But what really clicked for me is the sick sadistic pleasure. Like that to me is so part and parcel with the character of Freddy Krueger, at least the version that I really enjoy about, or the things that I enjoy about Freddy. But I do think the key is somebody that's like, when you go in and watch the movie, there's that suspension of disbelief, and we don't have a star taking over that role. Everyone puts out the same friggin' names. It's all like Bill Skarsgård or Evan Peters, or, you know, somebody that's already established in horror and it's already done so much. And I just think we need to give some other actors another shot. And also, I just think we need like Robert. I don't know. Maybe I'm sure people know this. Robert was not a star when he took on the role of Freddy Krueger. He was on the TV show V. And that was it. And that was all people knew him from. And so I think that's like, we kind of need that. And you know, maybe that's one of the roadblocks too, with Jackie Earle Haley being an accomplished performer before taking over the role. And I understand that people are really protective about Freddy because Robert played him for so long, but there is an opportunity there. I don't know if it was it Aaron Click that said it a little bit earlier, that maybe they are working on something and they're just keeping it under wraps until they really figure it out. But this is one of those things where I don't really, I can't understand what the holdup is. I think I'd rather see Freddy than Jason too, because we've got so much Jason out there. And Freddy is my least favorite of the big 3. So I would like to see another at bat at the plate. Like, let's take another swing or two with Freddy and bring him back. You know, it's high time. This is one of those weird properties too, where I usually don't like prequels, but I could totally be down with seeing something that gives us at least a little bit more of human Freddy. And I think one of the missed opportunities the first movie, you know, had was that they could have made it to where he was innocent, and that's why he came back. And then they went way over the line on that. So I think that's something that you could possibly explore that if you want to. You don't have to, but yeah, I don't, the rights issues here. I'm just, as a huge Halloween fan, I'm so thankful that Malik Akkad is at the helm of the Halloween franchise because, he understands and appreciates the fans, and he's never going to hold back just because. But I do think that bringing Freddy back, there's a massive opportunity out there. And the best we've gotten is our guy Cecil Laird from the Horror Show channel making Dylan's New Nightmare. And I know he's working on multiple versions of the follow-up script. He's talking to people that have been involved with the franchise since the very beginning. And I know that, one of the hopes that he has just from our private conversations is that he can put something together to where he can have somebody, be that intermediary that could possibly reach out to the Craven estate, that maybe something bigger could be down the line. And I know that just is probably a pipe dream and all that, but hey, if these conversations just can help move it along and help them realize that there's money to be made and fun to be had, then I think it's high time that we get Freddy to come back. And Jared Bankins, guys, I shit you not, I'll plug my own channel. Check out my video on my channel. Check him out in Twisted Metal. He was also in a movie called Off Ramp that is about these a couple juggalos going to the gathering. I'm not a juggalo, but I was like, I have to watch this movie because I love Jared's performances so much, so I have to check it out. So I think that's the way to go. Somebody that's kind of off the radar. Give somebody a shot to make themselves a star through this role instead of picking an established star to take on the role. No, I agree. And I just wanted to say one thing about Malik Akkad. Not only is he someone that, cares about the property clearly because, keeps bringing it back, and he's probably, I think any filmmaker would love to work with him because he gives creative freedom to you. Yeah. And so we've heard the stories about Rob Zombie's Halloween 2 where the Weinsteins wouldn't leave Rob alone, and Rob was calling Malik every day, and Malik was like, dude, fuck him, dude. Do your thing. And and then obviously, David Gordon Green, he did the same thing for DGG with Ends. It was just like, do your thing, man. Do your thing. And whether you love those products or not, that's got to be a filmmaker's best friend, to have a guy at the head to just be like, man, get weird, get wild, do your thing, dude. Shout out Malik Akkad. They don't make them like you anymore, buddy.
Well, hello there. You just watched an outrageous clip from the Hit the Bricks podcast. I really hope you enjoyed that clip. If you want to see more clips, you can click here or you can click here. And you can just have yourself a ball, all right? And also follow the Hit the Bricks podcast on Spotify as well. Thank you, guys. Have a wonderful day.